Hello traders, Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com, Sunday the 7th of September 2025. In this edition of your weekend video newsletter, we'll discuss the indices closing near all-time highs for 5 weeks in a row. Small caps were strong, leaving us with 13 bullish indicators, 4 neutral and 3 bearish. With fixed strike vols closing sharply lower, that's a good sign for the bulls heading into this second week of September trading. The New York FANG components showed some impeccable strength last week, with Broadcom and Google surging more than 10 to 12%, while the S&P 500 closed on an outside week. This is the 5th week in a row that we made a new high, with the last 2 weeks closing just below those all-time highs, but still above the 10 EMA weekly. The bulls are in control, and with fixed strike vols closing sharply lower on Friday, that's a good sign. While the S&P 500 did close below all-time highs, you can see that the 20 EMA on both the 60-minute and the daily continued to rise. That's bullish, with the Qs also rising, closing just below all-time highs, but above its 9, 21, 50, and 200-day moving averages. MACD is turning, and stochastics is rising. This is a bullish setup going into Monday trading. While small caps outperformed, with the index closing up 1.11%, outperforming the other major indices, with the closest rival, the NDX, at 1%. International indices look pretty strong. While there was rotation out of energy, financials, and industrials, we did see bullish moves into biotechs, healthcare, retail, builders, metals, and mining stocks. Again, small caps outperformed. MACD, stochastic, and RSI are all bullish if you're thinking about trading small caps this week. In addition, breadth improved into Friday's close, with the S&P 500, mid caps, small caps, and NASDAQ in descending order, all rising, with the New York Stock Exchange also closing near highs in the upper panel. The composite's 2,000 stocks, a broad measure of market participation. We can see NYMO is in a bullish trend, and the NYSE, the summation index of all values for the week, have turned up and show a bullish cross going into Monday and Tuesday. VIX indicator is also giving us a bullish signal to start the week, with the volatility index and fixed strike vols closing at the lows of the week. That's a good sign for the bulls as we start off the second week of September trading. Junk bonds, one of our risk-on indicators, is back above the 9, 21, and 50-day moving averages. You can see in the upper panel, RSI remains above 50. The strength of the trend is persistent. Risk-on, along with biotechs, IBB, IWM, and even Bitcoin to a certain extent, looking fairly strong, with Bitcoin giving us a neutral to bullish signal, while the advanced decline line continues to rise. So most of our risk-on signals are either neutral or bullish for this week. As anyone who traded last week knows, gold broke out of a tight squeeze, a 20-week range. As the saying goes, the longer the base, the higher in space. There was a lot of bullish options trades on Friday to consider. Just check out the alerts channel and the trading room. Just type in the search word gold, and that'll give you the trades that we notified you of on Friday. Crude oil also moved lower last week. This is good for the consumer. We're looking for the May lows in the short term, maybe over the next few weeks. That'd be a good way to start the fall. While copper, a leading economic indicator, remains at the lows, a 5-week base at the lows. We need to see this start to move higher. That would indicate that the economy is starting to pick up a little steam again. Looking for more of a bullish move like we saw back in April. As previously mentioned, there was some rotation out of financials, energy, and utilities, with obvious rotation into biotechs, IBB, communication services, materials, metals and mining, healthcare, and even retail, with a bid to end the week. Software moved back above the 20 and the 50-day moving averages, looking for a follow-through as well. And finally, with the XLY-XLP ratio continuing this bullish trend, this looks completely different than the February reversal from highs when the tariffs hit the tape, as well as the 2022 bear market. As this continues to rise, it's telling you that institutions are bullish and not positioning defensively, looking for a major pullback in the markets. Overall, sector rotation appears to be the game at the moment, looking for strength as we start off on Monday. The IBD 50 has numerous candidates looking for a follow-through this week, with gold miners on the watch list again this week. We're looking for a follow-through in some of those names, in addition to some stocks from the Bollinger Band TTM squeeze scan and cyan below. Again, we have 13 bullish, 4 neutral, and 3 bearish indicators to start the week. Support 6400, 6450, resistance 6530 to 6600. The call wall shifts it up to 6530, an indication that the bulls are still in control. American Superconductor, along with many of the semis last week on Friday, were pretty strong given the strength in Broadcom, with earnings pushing the stock up over 14% on Friday before fading. Still bullish for the week ahead. We have AMSC right above the 50-day moving average, RSI looking to turn up, with MACD and stochastics set up and ready to turn as a function of price. As previously mentioned, many of the gold stocks look fairly strong, looking for a follow-through this week. Astera Labs, strong at the highs, TTM squeeze, RSI rising, 921 50-day, 200-day moving averages are stacked. Volume above average, showing institutions have been buying shares. MACD and stochastics turning up. Astera Labs looks like a follow-through potentially for the week ahead. Google showing tremendous strength, above average volume, indicating they will not have to sell their Chrome browser, is pushing the stock higher with major resistance at 250 in the short term. RSI, MACD, stochastics, and volume all pushing higher, indicating that we could see a follow-through again this week. A cheap way to play this would be a bullish fly, a position I currently have with expiration out in October, with a center point around 250, so maybe the 240, 250, 260. Bullish call butterfly. In addition to KNSA Pharmaceuticals riding their upper Bollinger Band, RSI rising, and embedded, stochastics and MACD bullish, volume picking up. Looking for a follow-through in some of these names this week. As we highlighted in Mirum Pharmaceuticals over the last couple of weeks, as this one broke out back in August, the stock showing muscle, an indication that the strength is persistent, while volume shows that institutions have been picking up shares above average volume for the past 4 or 5 weeks. Stochastics is still embedded, but MACD is starting to taper off a little bit. Indications here are that some of these specialty pharmaceutical companies will continue to move higher in the short term. Insulet, specifically focused on diabetes with their insulin infusion system. You can see that earnings growth is triple digit, while revenue growth is 32.9%. All four of these metrics green, a bullish indication for stocks that show all four metrics green after reported earnings. With price action breaking out over the last couple of weeks, 9, 21.50, 200-day are all stacked. RSI is showing muscle. Volume looks good. Institutions are obviously present, with MACD and stochastics giving bullish signals. Reddit also looks good for the week ahead. RSI is rising. We're in a squeeze. Look for stock to break out above the 253 level in the short term. Volume picking up again. Stochastics and RSI rising. This looks good for Reddit, as over the last 5 or 6 weeks, we've had a little bit of selling, but mostly buyers. Once the stock got above 150, we continue to see a reason to believe this stock would continue higher into the fourth quarter. Rocket Labs had a little short attack last week. I forget the name of the firm, but the stock did recover right around the 50-day moving average. Looking for Rocket Labs to continue higher. RSI rising, volume picking up again. Just look for the breakout. If it gets above Friday's high, look for a retest of recent highs in the short term. While some of the financials did pull back last week, the big banks and some of the credit card companies, SoFi did manage to hold on to its bullish trend. 9, 21.50, 200-day are all stacked. Volume picked up again on Thursday and Friday. Looking for the stock to continue and to break above the 26.50, 26.60 level in the short term. Some additional stocks from the Bollinger Band TTM scan, moving back above the 9, 21.50 moving averages. Coca-Cola Consolidated, COKE, looking for a retest of the 200-day and a move higher in this consumer staple company. With RSI rising, MACD and stochastics looking bullish. Volume picked up on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Look for COKE to continue this week. Real estate was fairly strong last week. That includes the REITs. As we can see with Arbor Realty Trust, ABR rising back above its 200-day moving average over the last several weeks. 50 days about to cross up through this level. Inexpensive name. Just buy it and hold it. Looks like this will continue higher into the fourth quarter. With volume picking up, MACD is flat, stochastics rising. Look for Arbor Realty along with XLRE, the real estate group, and builders specifically to continue higher this week. If you have a favorite builder like Toll Brothers, or Lennar, with the indication that interest rates will continue to move lower, watch the builders as well. Beazer Homes, they do a lot of major developments, 200 acres. They clear the site of trees and they just build homes. Tri-Point Homes out west. LGI Homes turning the corner. 50-day is obviously turning back up towards the 200-day. Look for these to follow through as well. And Pulte Homes. Metals and mining stocks also continue this bullish trend that started back in April and continue to see this bullish trend, 9, 21.50, 200-day up and to the right into the fourth quarter. Volume looks good. MACD stochastics rising. If we get a follow-through breakout on Monday, consider an ABCD pattern for entry and look to hold for a swing with a trailing stop under the low of the day, adjusted on a daily basis. Okay, traders, that's going to do it for me. This is Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com with your weekend video newsletter for Sunday, the 7th of September, 2025. With fixed strike vol dropping sharply on Friday, it's a good sign for the bulls moving forward. Let's see if we get a bullish open Sunday night futures into Monday. I'll send out a watch list later tonight around 12 o'clock midnight on the East Coast, around 9 o'clock on the West Coast, so be sure to check your inbox for that. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Take care, and we'll see you in the morning. Ciao.